I love laminating things.
I mean, yeah, you're a teacher. That's what we do.
I
Is we
wanna
laminate stuff,
even
and it's
though
the
it's
best.
Gotta keep it laminated.
Na 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 na. Yo, I made this new spreadsheet. I'm getting it done. You can use a dry erase marker on this paper, son. Gotta keep it laminated.
Hey!
You can put it underwater, it'll be just fine. Hey!
Go laminate!
That's my next project I'm going to. All right. Somebody count me down.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What? That's not how it works.
No. Ian can do it. He's been gone for a long time.
All right, here we go. In 5, 4, 3.
Hello. Oh, wait. Hold on.
Wow.
Hello and welcome to episode 104 of the GameBrew podcast, the bi-weekly video game podcast where we sip delicious beers, discuss video games, and kiss the Blarney Stone. I'm your host, Dan Atlas Rotz, and today I'm joined by Chris Aiden Pierce Wright.
I'm from a mediocre game, and I know how to hack things.
Ian Sean Devlin Richard.
And I'm a spy.
And special guest, Katie Moira Hunt.
Psychic things.
All right.
Today on our annual St. Patty's Day episode, on the first half of the show, we'll say goodbye to Anthem for the last time. We'll raise a few beers to our long lost pal, sing some sad songs. And on the second half, we're gonna let video games make us edumacated. But first, it's time for a beer. Chris, what are we drinking?
We are drinking some Smithwick's Irish Red Ale.
Oh boy.
It's from Ireland.
It's from Ireland.
And
the shores of Eire.
So I looked up the Wikipedia page, and it's kind of funny because one of the things it says, there's some dispute as to whether Irish Red Ale is genuine style or the same as an English keg bitter. And I want to know who's having this dispute.
It's probably the Irish and the English.
I mean, that's a classic
tradition.
thing, yeah.
They're just like, no, we did it first. And they're like, no, you bloody fuckers, we did it first.
But yeah, no, it's red. That's cool.
It's red. I'm drinking it out of the thing because I don't have any glasses near me, so I can't tell. The label's red, so I assume it's red.
No, it's red. High amount of chuggability. Ian, while you were gone, we've added a new...
Yeah, how we rate our beers is now the chuggability level of it.
Chuggability?
Yeah.
Yes. And I would agree with you, Chris. The chuggability level of this is fairly high.
Yeah.
Because it's a red ale, so it's slightly lower ABV. It's only 4.5%. Mm-hmm. And it's not bitter. It's like a sweeter.
Yeah. So I think on this fight between the Irish and the English keg bitter, there's no bitter. So I think it's an Irish red ale and not an English keg bitter.
Right, because the Irish would be like, no, I've got to drink it till I pass out, and then wake up and then drink it some more.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always been a red ale.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think so.
Well, isn't there another Smithwick's that's not red ale?
I remember a green label a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a green label a while ago. I think
you're right. Are you asking if it's always been a red ale or if it's always had a red label?
If it's always been a red ale.
I believe it has always been a red ale because when I go to the Wikipedia page again, it says Smithwick's is an Irish red ale style beer.
Okay.
It is also the most consumed ale in Ireland. And it's also apparently, according to this, Ireland's oldest ale. So there you go. It's been,
wow.
It's 311 years old.
Oh yeah, it used to be that.
Wow, that's an old ale.
Yeah.
The green with like
yeah, it's pretty good. It's, I mean, it's nothing like crazy, but like it's solid. Like it's got some nice maltiness. It's got, a standard amount of bitterness, not too much, not too little, not too hoppy. Yeah, it's high chuggability. It's a good beer for drinking on St. Patty's Day.
That's true.
There you go.
Yeah.
Katie, what are your thoughts on it?
So it's been a long time since I've had a Smithwick's, but I don't remember it being this drinkable. But it's very smooth.
Yeah, I like it better than Harp or Guinness personally. Like of the Irish beers,
Definitely
it's
better
my favorite.
than just like
How does it
straight
compare
Guinness.
to like a Killian's, you think?
A Killian's is a lot sweeter, like a fake kind of sweet, which I don't like. Like I break out I get like horrible like sugar based acne every time that I drink Smithwick's.
Smithwick's
because
or Killian's?
Oh, I'm sorry, Killian's. Because it's like it's too sweet. Like, and I'm just like, if I drink like 4 or 5, then the next day I'm like, my face feels bad.
Dan,
you know?
Dan, you're too sweet.
Shut up, Chris.
This is why you can't come downstairs, Katie. This is what's going on when you're
This is what me.
upstairs.
It's a Dan and Chris love fest all the time. But speaking of a Dan and Chris love fest,
What is Ian
what's
drinking?
everybody been? Oh, Ian, what are you drinking?
Okay, so I couldn't find any Smithwick's.
What?
I know.
That's
it
amazing.
was a weird day. I think it was actually because like the taste of the JMU students has improved so much over time that it was all sold out. Like there was Guinness and there was Killian's, but there was no Smithwick's at any of the stores that I went to today. So
Oh my God.
I am drinking Left Hand Brewing's Milk Stout, which is very seasonally labeled today.
Nice.
What I was thinking is I would get something sort of Guinness inspired, but not necessarily Guinness. So it's a little different because Guinness is an Irish dry stout, and this is a milk stout, but it still has that really dark, opaque sort of color, almost black in the glass, and that really tight but enjoyable foam on top,
thick.
which I love.
Yeah, it's like a thick head. Yeah.
Yes,
Phrasing. Anyways,
phrasing.
Boom.
But it's really delicious. I love me a milk stout, and this is delivering. Let me have a little sipsies here.
I like milk stouts.
Left Hand Nitro Milk Stout is my favorite milk stout.
This
you can
is
get.
probably like not a lot of hops, which is good. A ton of flavor, a little bit of toastiness, lots of like oat, lots of like breadiness to it, and just a nice round sort of chocolatey finish. It's a really nice beer. I
does
love
it have like
That was a really good description
I was
too.
about
Can you
to
write
say,
that down
I like Ian
and like
saying
send it to
all
some
that.
reviewers or something?
I like Ian saying
And then
that.
make
and
them
then-
pay you for it. Yeah.
Sorry. I like Ian describing stuff like that, and then while you're gone, you guys just have chuggability.
Listen.
our beer is more simple than that. It's got one job, and it's for chugging. So,
But Ian, here's the important question: what's the chuggability level of that Left Hand Milk Stout?
I mean, I wouldn't chug these at all. I wouldn't give it very much
Zero
chuggability. It's not
chuggability.
a-
So
You can't.
So a low chuggability, low
like-
or zero?
I would say low. It's like chocolate milk. Like, do you really want to chug that? Like, I don't think so.
If I was
mean,
5, yes.
absolutely. Does it have like a little bit of sweetness from the milk sugar? Mm-hmm. And creaminess?
Yeah,
Chalky milk.
definitely. Tons of creaminess, a good amount of sweetness, and that's right at the front. And then it sort of goes to the oaty, and then to the sort of toasty, chocolately end. It's great. It's really good stout. I just
good.
love stouts, though. I could drink stouts all day.
I couldn't.
Good. It's very thick. I could drink them if I wasn't eating any food ever, because
You know what
then
it
I'd be
is?
just
Is
full.
because generally they have low chuggability, and I don't like that.
That's yeah. We need high chuggability. We need high chuggability beers. But speaking of high chuggability beers, Ian, welcome back to the podcast.
It's
I've missed
so
you.
good to be back.
I'm still not giving you your podcasting host mic back yet.
We'll see how long that
it's-
lasts.
Until I decide to give it up. You have to coo
Cold
me.
dead
You gotta
body.
coo me.
But Dan,
that.
you were supposed to be the chosen one.
Well, he's got the high ground right now, so.
You will not be a part of my new empire.
Dag.
So Ian, you've been gone.
I have.
What have you been playing, my friend?
I have been playing Move the Box from here to there.
So
It's not a
Tetris.
very exciting game. Wilmot's Warehouse. No. Have you guys played Wilmot's Warehouse, though?
No?
This
No?
game is incredible. Like, everyone should go play it. I want to
All
play
right,
it with
let's
everyone
cancel the
right
podcast and go play
now. Cancel
Wilmot's.
the podcast. Everybody go play.
All
So,
right, all right. See you guys. That's it for the GameBrew podcast. Thank you for coming. Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. So Wilmot's Warehouse is basically like if Amazon's like storehouse was your job, and it's kind of like it's in emoji shape form. So everything's like a little tile, and you have to store all the tiles in such a way that allows you to easily remember where they are, get to them, and then pull them back to where you need to deliver them.
Oh.
And all of this sounds really simple, but the main like conceit and difficulty of the game is they're sort of obtuse little tiles. Like some of them are really clear. They'll be like cheese or an orange or something, but some of them are like shapes or a design. So you like start getting like, this is the beach section, and then you get like a bright sun in the sky, and you're like, well, does the sun belong in the beach section or does it belong over in weather? Because those are in different places. You have to like make decisions about how you want to organize your warehouse.
I get it.
Yeah, so I was playing it with Marianne for a little while when we were back in Washington. So would definitely recommend as a good couch co-op game, and super fun but a little bit stressful.
What if this was actually you just organizing an Amazon warehouse? If they just
damn you, Jeff Bezos!
It's like whenever you do those CAPTCHA things, I'm like, we're training the machine race right now. Like we're teaching them what is a bus.
They're gonna know. They're gonna know where all the fucking buses are.
They're gonna know what is a crosswalk without any question.
They're like 009. Wait, this is a crosswalk.
So I've actually heard that you're not actually trying to answer the question. Like that's not how they determine if you're human or not. It's the way you answer it.
Oh, interesting.
So if you're a robot, you'll just like go across and then down to hit the button or something like that. Whereas like a human will just, drag it to where it is, and it won't be like a perfect direction to it.
Oh, it's like capturing your mouse input?
Yeah.
I'm only doing straight lines with that from now on.
Well, good luck with that, you robot.
Yeah, good luck.
And then I also finished out Octopath Traveler. So,
That's a long game. You got a long game point in there.
Yeah, it's only like 65 hours or something I spent playing this game, which was entirely too long for the amount of content. Just a lot of padding, a lot of padding.
Paths, right? Like 8 of them.
A lot of paths. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is St. Patty's Day, so there are a lot of patties.
St. Patty's Day. It was good. I like the art style was great. The combat was traditional, but with like fun new twists. It was just that like none of the stories ended up hitting because everything was so disjointed, because you had to cycle through all 8 characters before you could kind of come back around to the storyline you were interested in.
Yeah. There's a lot of retracking.
Yeah. So then and you could tell that the developers knew this, that Square Enix knew this, because whenever you come back to the story, there's a little like pop-up, but it's like, hey, just so you remember, here's what was happening last time you thought about this person that you don't care about. Your game shouldn't need pop-ups.
Yeah. It shouldn't need a last week on.
Exactly.
I mean, I think the difficulty is that it's because you have so many characters that they're trying to make you care about, then you care about none of them because you can't really have enough time to connect with them.
Yeah, so either like let me choose to ignore certain characters and call it, Quadrapath Traveler, or
just choose your path traveler.
Yeah. Choose your path traveler. Or choose your own adventure traveler.
Exactly, or just give me like 3 really well fleshed out characters with stories and call it a day.
Nice, and you've been digging into Elite Dangerous too.
Oh my gosh,
little bit more. Yeah.
I've been digging into Elite, still prepping for the new expansion, which the alpha for that drops at the end of March, so I would expect we would see it probably end of May, middle of May.
Nice.
Out for real. Really, really excited. Elite Dangerous is incredibly obtuse, as I've talked about before, but also really rewarding if you're willing to put time in. I discovered like an entirely new section of the game just a couple days ago, and I've been playing it.
Is it like a different physical space, or is it like a different like path?
It's a different
it's a different job.
Yeah, it's a different scanning function, because there are like 12 different scanning. Well, probably more than that. I don't even know. It's like a certain scanning function that has always been in the game since an update a while ago that I just never knew existed. That completely changes how you do a lot of things in the game.
It's instead of you lifting up the lid and putting the paper on it and then closing the lid to scan, it's an auto document feeder.
Yeah.
So it
much more efficient.
Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah, for sure.
No, but that's cool. I look forward to more of your reviews of that whenever the update comes out, because I probably won't be playing it, so you'll have to tell me.
Yeah, I'll keep you all posted. I think it's going to be sweet.
Yeah.
Katie, what have you been playing recently?
So I have not been playing a lot. I've been playing the Netflix and the TikToks. I will occasionally jump back into Animal Crossing, and my villagers miss me, and it's cute, and then they go back to not giving a shit.
They go back to like mourning your absence. They're like, she's here, and you're like, okay, I'm signing off, and they're all like, oh no, please come back.
Yeah.
I imagine it's kind of like it's a small world whenever they turn all the power off, where it's just like all the characters are like walking around and all happy, and then they just kind of they're shutting down, and they just wait there. Things are growing, cobwebs, and then you come back in, and they're just like, welcome to a new day.
Yes. But yeah, so not playing a ton, but
Okay. Well, if you could be playing games, what would you be playing?
That's a great question.
Ooh, that is
Thank
a good
you.
question. I do want to try playing Cyberpunk at some point.
Ooh, okay.
If only you knew somebody who had
I
that.
know.
I would advise waiting until they fix it more.
Okay. That's fine.
Wait for the game of the year version of it.
Now I'm super interested in that game, Ian. Thank you, because that's gonna what was it? Mott's?
Wilmot's Warehouse.
Wilmot's Warehouse.
Yes.
Yeah.
That sounds great. I love organizing.
Oh my god, you will love it. I play it and tell me what you think, because it's just a brain mess.
A brain mess. Thank you. Good work.
What else? Oh, I played a little bit of Beat Saber recently. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna be more active, and then I did it for like one day. And
Okay, so I have a question about this.
Yeah.
Is it like a good workout?
Yes
Can
and
be.
no.
If you do the hard ones, yeah.
It really, it's less of a workout and more gets your heart rate going. And then to make it more of a workout, I kind of like dance a little bit more, like while I'm doing it. Yeah.
It's
Just
like a
like that.
workout in the same way that DDR is a workout.
No,
Right.
no,
not
never
really.
mind. No.
not as much as DDR. DDR is an insane workout.
Because you got to like move your feet.
You're literally hopping on every step.
Yeah, but like you're lunging if you're doing good
It's-
Beat Saber stuff.
I don't think it's the same, but
Okay.
it does get your heart rate going. It really works your arms, so it's I guess like a good
Big strong.
cardio for your arms, I guess.
Armio.
Army, yes.
You heard it here first, folks.
It's a new term. We made it up.
It's a medical term. I'm going to edit the Wikipedia page for arms right now.
I haven't been playing a whole lot of. Well, I have been playing a whole lot of stuff. I've been pulling up old games and things like that. Like just because I'm like new things just haven't been doing it for me. So I pulled up I started playing Pokemon again. I started doing
Which one?
Sword, Pokemon Sword,
Okay.
because I only played a little bit of it and then I never kind of went back to it. I started Sekiro over from the beginning. Yes, Ian, we'll talk about that next time. And I've also been playing Magic the Gathering Arena because I like it. I know that's a weird. Really, I kind of like got back into it because I was experimenting. I was like, oh, maybe we can do like some streams on the GameBrew of us like doing a draft tournament. And I don't know how if it works with like that way with the drafting stuff, but because of that, I just started playing it. And now it's kind of like I just have a few like maybe 30 minutes. I just was like, oh, let's play a few games of Magic the Gathering.
How does the
Arena.
drafting work? Because I saw that this was like the new hotness, but wasn't sure about whether
it's the same way it would work normally. It's like you enter a tournament with like 7 other random people. You all go around, pick cards out of packs like you normally would, and then you just have a tournurnament. So it's like you just do it in a little bracket of 8 people.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How
So-
far did you get?
I actually haven't done it. I've been trying to get back into the swing of things. I recently have been making really rude black and blue decks with really low level black cards that have death touch. So people are afraid to attack me, and then just all unsummons. So whenever they try to put anything down, I'm just like, nope, sorry. And then I just attack them with all my little mice, my plague rats. So So it's not very nice. But yeah, I've been going into that. If anyone wants to play Magic the Gathering Arena, let me know. I'm usually down. I'm testing out new deck combos.
Interesting.
And then and to round us all out, Chris, what have you been doing, buddy?
Not too much. I did some Diablo 2.
Nice.
I actually played some Warhammer 40K today, which was fun.
Nice. And I understand that you recently talked about Warhammer stuff with the Fireside.
Yeah, our Fireside interview guys.
Interviews and reviews podcast.
Yeah, we talked about that on Friday. It was fun. We talked for like 2 hours. It was great.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, mine with them was like 3 hours of just talking about D&D stuff.
I just got to ooze about it, and it was nice. Because no one here cares. So
yeah, that's a podcast. They're friends of the shows. They are just starting out. I don't think that they have released publicly yet, but whenever they do, look out for that. And we'll give you all the info for that stuff too.
Yeah. But yeah, so I did that today, and then I actually ended up playing Fall Guys last week. Which was
Fall Guys is so
which is fun. Yeah, like it's something that I like. It's fun to jump into, but I don't know if I could do it for like hours on end.
No, but it's good for like an hour ish.
Yeah,
and you could just be a goofy pill boy.
Yeah.
For a while.
Well,
just jumping through.
It also gives me big Mario Party vibes, like the mini games.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like it feels like just Mario Party mini games all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just a whole game made out of it.
Yeah.
Which is great. I like that sometimes they have like little other events you can do. Like there's one that's all like the hex like game sort of stuff right now. So you can just go through and get better at all the hex ones where like you fall through the different levels with the hexagons.
Yeah.
They have to jump on top.
Yeah, and then I think also they were doing one where it's always the slowest version of Rocket League ever.
Oh yes, that one is ridiculous.
It's so much fun.
Transition.
So this week, I think it was this week or the week before, we got the announcement we've all been waiting for. BioWare and EA basically said, Anthem is dead. Long may it rest. No longer will live Anthem. They've basically said they're just going to stop. I think what they actually said, Chris Daly, BioWare executive producer, said, in the spirit of transparency and closure, we wanted to share that we've made the difficult decision to stop our new development work on Anthem, aka Anthem Next, which basically means no more support for Anthem. So the 12 people that are currently playing it are going to be very upset.
Well, so they said they're going to leave the servers on at least for a little while, but yeah, they're not going to put out new content for it. They're not going to fix it. They're leaving the dumpster fire where it is, and they're letting it go out by itself.
And we kind of knew this like back in February when we got like some buzz about like, oh, we're going to be having a talk at our next sales meeting about what's going on with that. And it was like clearly a bad talk.
Yeah, because it's like it would cost too much money. Like at the point they released it too early, things didn't work the way that they wanted to. No one was happy with it whenever it came out. The amount of time they'd have to spend and the manpower they'd have to spend to fix it is just way more money than that.
People power, Dan.
People power. I mean, if we can, I don't know if we could change Sonic. I guess we could fix Anthem, but I don't know if it's worth it at this point. But basically, this kind of brought up is just like, did they give up on it too soon? And like, what's the time frame? Like, how long should these companies spend trying to fix things that are obviously broken before they're just like, oh yeah, it's done? Or like, did they spend too long, or did they not spend enough long?
I think just originally part of the problem was they used the Frostbite, yeah, which BioWare's had so many issues with.
Yeah.
Isn't that also why the Mass Effect Andromeda was bad?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so here's the thing. Here's the background on the Frostbite story is that at the time it was a newer engine, but some of the developers working on Anthem had previously, in working for EA and other things, been working on FIFA 22 or 2016 or something, which was also running on Frostbite. So at the same time that Frostbite was really like developed and made originally and sort of sold as a first-person shooter engine, they thought that it could be adopted for other things. And when you look at the gameplay loop for Anthem, like, it's really not that bad. It's actually pretty good. Now, I guess it just took them a super long time to do that.
Kind of, but also I think the gameplay loop wasn't satisfactory enough for the players. Like it had a gameplay loop that works, that we know, and like these shooter looter type of stuff is like you do a thing, you get stuff for it, you upgrade your things. But none of the stuff that would upgrade would be like better. It would just be more of the same sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it made it harder for you to keep playing it. And that was really what they needed to change, but they never really changed that, or they never really took steps to fix that part of it. Instead, they got stuck fixing bugs, because that's all that was there from the beginning, was there's just lots of bugs, you know? Right.
Not only were there some pretty serious systemic issues with the game itself, but there were also just a whole lot of bugs to smush. And with the team they had, I guess they couldn't do both at the same time.
Right. Especially because they made the team smaller, too. Like, it's like, oh, yeah, we're totally halving the size of the Anthem team that's doing everything. So to cut costs on it. Basically, they were saying they were giving up on Anthem way before they actually said they were giving up on Anthem.
Yeah.
Which I guess 2 years ago, we were really excited for it. And then...
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with the E3 videos, is that, like, they always look so good. And then, like, especially something that's built in Frostbite, because it's a beautiful engine. But
it's made to make things look pretty.
Katie just looked up Frostbite on her computer and pulled up, like, Frostbite. So we just saw this foot out of the side with Frostbite.
Katie, describe the foot, please.
Oh, it was gross.
It's gross.
It's gross looking.
There we go. Frostbite game engine.
Yes.
There we go. God.
Oh, that was funny.
Well, so bring it back to like the question of, when does a company give up on a game, and did they give up on Anthem too soon? I mean, the easy pat answer here is late stage capitalism. You give up on the game when you feel like you can't make money on it, right?
Well, right, yeah.
And EA did. I think what's sad is that they actually did the wrong calculus there. Like, there is still right now such a large market for well-developed, large games with a lot of content, with an explorable world and a good gameplay loop. And Anthem had pieces of that, right? Like, the flying and the shooting and like the general mechanics of the game were actually really fun.
Yeah.
Exploring that world was really interesting, and it was like a really new sort of original kind of feeling universe. Some of the abilities were cool and fun. They sort of had the like tank spellcaster, sort of straight DPS, and like a rogue slipped in there, sort of character archetypes. But the game was really held back because there just wasn't a lot of variety in that gameplay. And by say a lot of, I mean any. And there wasn't any loot. But those are fixable problems.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
New enemy types, more stuff.
If they had released in a way that made more sense, they really could have recouped that and turned it into a profit-generating machine, like we've seen Destiny 2 be. Like, even though people complain about Destiny 2 endlessly, there's still a ton of people playing it, and I'm sure buying stuff.
And that's the thing, is like, with Destiny 2 and Destiny, they released a broken product. Not as broken as
I wouldn't say they released a broken product,
but like just
not
as good as.
It wasn't polished.
Yeah,
you know,
it was so polished. It was short.
Kidding?
They were both too short.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I think I agree with Ian. I agree with Ian on that. He's right, because in my head
they abandoned an entire like aspect of it. Like, didn't they have Peter Dinklage as the voice of something, and then they completely abandoned the fact that he was the voice of something?
That's true. Yeah. In the first one, Peter
like,
Dinklage was Ghost, and then whenever they were doing more, I think that came down to they were doing more stuff, and Peter Dinklage wasn't going to be available to record any of it. So that's whenever they got Nolan North to come in, and they were like, oh, well, it wouldn't make any sense to have just a random new voice, so we're going to have to re-record all the original stuff.
Right. And at the end of the day, putting all that in a circle and saying like, well, Destiny was broken because of Peter Dinklage not continuing on as a voice actor. Like, Peter Dinklage is such a small part of like, this game is really about shooting and looting.
That was pretty little of you.
What do you mean?
I mean, guys, listen, I'm trying to keep this short, so can we just
well, but like I just like, it just wasn't a completely polished game, like or a completely finished game, I guess. There was just not a lot of content there, in the same way that this doesn't have a lot of content. So
Katie,
go ahead.
So Katie, you haven't played these games.
Correct.
Okay. What's a game that you play all the time? I just don't know your exact.
Animal Crossing.
So like, so if Animal Crossing, if they didn't support stuff from the get-go, the way that, or like they didn't update anything, like there were no new events, there were no new any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Would that have stopped you from playing Animal Crossing?
Like from starting, or
Yeah, like whenever they released it and they were just like, oh yeah, here you go, here's Animal Crossing. And then they didn't do any sort of events after that or any changes.
I mean, it wouldn't have stopped me from playing, but it would have definitely made me stop playing it sooner.
Okay.
But wasn't one of the last games that BioWare released was Mass Effect Andromeda? And that was like not great, right?
Also a dumpster fire.
Right.
Yeah,
So
they
that would
basically were two dumpster fires right next to each other.
Yeah.
Dragon Age Inquisition was, I think, kind of mixed reviewed.
Yeah, I think Dragon Age Inquisition has a very specific like fan following, and I've played it more recently. It definitely fits more of the kind of go someplace, do a thing, come back.
Get rewards.
Yeah, kind of stuff that I have problem with games and like quests and stuff. And we're going to talk about that at a later episode.
Well,
but like,
I think their history with not releasing a great game before that would make me like hesitant.
Well, but they had a huge reputation before that. Like because like the Mass Effect because of KOTOR
and the other Dragon
Age games. Like they had so many good games before that. And so they've ruined their reputation in the last two.
It just makes me wonder if there's like something bad going on.
Well, the two doctors that started it aren't there anymore. So like the people that were the driving force behind the company. Now it's not really BioWare anymore. It's EA.
It's basically an entity built off of the company that is BioWare. None of the original people from BioWare are still there. I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong, please.
I believe that's correct.
I'm sure there are still some people there.
I mean, yeah. But
Tim in accounting is still there, but like
right. No, I and what's sad about that is that what the people who were there doing the development felt was that it was like they couldn't really get any clear answers on how they should develop the gameplay for the game, or they were getting like different answers every 2 or 3 months. So they would put together a new system and then have that system dismantled, and then put together another new system and then have that system dismantled or fundamentally changed in a way that sort of didn't allow them to iterate further on that system, which is why even though it had a relatively long development window, you never saw a lot of content come out for it, right? Because internally they're recycling through things that they've already done, and then at the end they're like, okay, we have this like 2 or 3 good ideas, we'll just copy and paste them 1,000 times, and that's why it feels so repetitive to play the game.
Right.
Which is a bummer, because you know, part of what BioWare did really well up until, you know, Andromeda, you could probably argue, and even Andromeda, I don't know, it had moments, was to like surprise you and have missions that really felt like they changed the characters and changed the way you played the game. Like, I remember the first time that you show up at the main hub in Mass Effect, I was just like, whoa, this is crazy. Like all this stuff, all these, like, you're introduced to a whole new world, and then you get to know those people and their lives change. Some of them die. Like everything changed during that game, and this just feels so static. And that's what was kind of a bummer about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think another really interesting allegory here is like a game that probably should stop iterating on itself and hasn't, versus this game, which should continue iterating on itself, but the company doesn't feel like it should pony up the money to do so. So I look at something with completely different genre, but I look at like a Hearthstone, and like none of the ideas in Hearthstone are like new or interesting. Like I'm gonna keep playing it, to be clear, because I have a problem. But
that's true, and admitting it is the first step, which is good.
Admitting it is the first step, but there's nothing like new and interesting that keeps me coming back to Hearthstone. They should stop iterating on that game and rebuild a new game to replace it. That costs a lot of money, and they're still making enough money on Hearthstone where they don't need to, and so they won't. This game,
that's corporate Dan hat. I mean, but it's like, but that makes money, and I think that's the biggest thing with Anthem, was because they were trying to get it to a point where it would start making them money, and because they were pushing so hard in that direction, they didn't get any sort of traction on it. Yeah, so it kind of all comes down to money, especially with BioWare and EA and companies, because I mean, gaming is $1 billion industry, so it's $1 trillion, $1 billion,
probably trillion.
Bunch of money industry.
There's a lot of money. There's a lot of money in it, and a lot of money they expect to do that. So, but it is a multiplayer game, right? It's like a game that you're expected to play with. You could play it by yourself, but you're expected to kind of play it. but you can't play it with other. But you're supposed to play it with other people, and they are going to be supporting it for a little while. How long do you think that they'll support it before eventually they're just like, we're not gonna deal with this anymore?
Probably 3 years is my guess. Maybe 2. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's basically whatever the minimum amount is they think will make them not look the worst.
Not look bad.
I just think they already just did such a bad job with rolling out this news. I was legitimately excited for Anthem next. Like I wanted this new team at BioWare, the developers, the artists, you know, the people managing all of that. I wanted them all to get a win back under their belt because you just see what's possible from them. And there's not really anybody else right now doing huge RPGs that pack that pack a punch like those games did. Like they were like big sci-fi or fantasy action movies. And other than like The Witcher 3,
points for Ian.
Yeah, points for me, but like who else is doing the big fantasy RPG with multiple storylines, or the big sci-fi RPG with multiple storylines? It's not out there. So there's an untapped market that they've got the right people for. They're doing nothing with.
Yeah, I agree. But it's also the company that said that the single player game is dead. So
it shows what they know.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of, again, another conversation for another time, because single player games are kind of making a comeback.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a lot of like these new big releases, games of the years, all these things that aren't multiplayer games that are making a lot of waves in the industry. So that'll be a topic for another time. That'll be our Easter topic, resurrecting the single player.
I mean, we've talked about it before, though.
We've talked about a lot of stuff before.
That's true.
We'll have to go through and listen to it again, so I don't accidentally make us talk about something we've talked about before, as I've done on many occasions.
Yeah. But the only other thing I would say is, like, I guess the good version of a similar game that was in a similar situation that has actually kind of emerged and gotten a little better. It probably had less core issues than Anthem, but Fallout 76, if you're looking for a looter shooter friend experience, kind of similar. It doesn't have like a hub situation. Like it's not as Destiny-esque, but it's a multiplayer RPG. I don't know. And they brought a lot of stuff back into it. They spent the time to fix it. Even Todd Howard, I think, recently said something about how, Fallout 76 wasn't great when it came out.
But it's like, but we fixed it. And also, if you have, because of the recent Xbox purchasing Bethesda, or purchasing ZeniMax Media, which owns Bethesda, basically all of the Bethesda games are on Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah.
So you could play Fallout 76 with Game Pass if you want. Do that with your friends. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Chris.
Yeah, I'd do that. Yeah, not gonna lie, though, I'm pretty pumped that Microsoft bought them. I think that was
they'll have a lot more money in distribution stuff, and maybe things will come out a little faster from them too.
Hopefully it'll be a check for them, like if they're like, oh, maybe you shouldn't release this right now.
Yeah,
because generally Microsoft, like, I mean, I know the most recent Halos haven't been super great, but like generally they don't put out garbage.
Yeah, they were polished though, and that's the thing that Bethesda
polished turds. Yes.
That's right.
Nice. All right. Well, we're gonna take a little break here so that we can go pee, have a snack,
go polish some turds of our own.
Let's go polish some turds.
And when we come back, we're gonna get a little educated, talking about our favorite educational games from childhood and what's the best use for them. So stick with us, everybody. We'll be right back.
Woohoo!
Hello and welcome back to the GameBrew podcast. I am your host, Dan Rotz, still just because I refuse to.
Isn't it Dan McRotz?
Dan McRotz here. There's a scene in The Producers where the cops show up after they put on a really good show, and he comes in and he's like, "Who are you?" "Oh, I'm Nathan McCready, and I'm here. I heard a commotion, and I came to see what's going on." His voice gets so high. Nathan Lane is a treasure.
He is. He really is.
But how's the beard going, guys? How's everyone doing?
Struggable.
It's great.
Definitely
I've had like half of my milk stout, so probably like 400 calories. Looking to the next 400.
Yep.
It's like a protein shake without the protein.
It's a carb shake.
Oh god. Oh no.
It's like if you put a loaf of bread in a blender and poured a little bit of alcohol in there and then drank it.
Just put some protein powder in it, and it's fine.
Yeah, that's perfect. You could take that to the gym. Just remember to take your pre-workout before you drink it.
That's right.
You could see how it's treating me. It's not a visual medium, but you guys can see my face. You can see how red my cheeks are getting, like, from doing this. This is after one beer. Imagine me drinking 4 of these, and it's just like...
Oh, man, that just reminded me that the last time we had a St. Patty's Day episode, we had Drunk Dan.
Oh,
we had very drunk Dan.
the 6 Irish car bombs day.
Yes,
which
yes.
is...
God.
Yes.
The only way I will drink Guinness is Irish car bombs.
What?
Katie, that's why I love you.
Katie.
They were so good, and I was sitting down. If you can listen to that, I don't remember what the title of that episode is called. I don't remember anything about that episode, to be honest.
It's probably better that way.
Listen to it. You can hear the drunkest I've ever been on the podcast. So. And probably in the last 10 years. I don't know. It's because it was a lot. I will never drink those again in such volume.
I think the last time I was the drunkest I've been in a long time was when Dan and I played that mystery point and click game on you.
Yes,
what you're about to do on Tuesdays.
Yeah, which we're about to do on Tuesday.
I'm not going to get that drunk.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you drank a lot of wine that night. That was
like
good.
Chugging wine the whole
Oh yeah. I mean, hey, when you got to find
when
those
you have a
hidden
chuggable
pictures.
wine.
When you have a chuggable wine. How's Katie? How is the Smithwick's red ale treating you so far?
It is drinkable, but my thing with red ales is I just get this taste like on the back of my tongue.
Yeah.
That I'm just not a fan of.
I think I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's like the malt. I think it's that malt that's back there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a sweet finish, but it just builds.
So the way you get rid of that is by drinking more.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. You just keep drinking. I was like, I can't tell it tastes bad if I just keep drinking it, right?
Yeah, because then it just doesn't. It's always moving. It's flowing.
Yeah,
that's true.
Right.
I don't know.
You never get the aftertaste if it's always a constant taste.
So for me, it's a little slow going, but it is drinkable.
I'm on my 3rd one.
Oh my god.
I'm on 2. I'm on number 2 right now.
God, Chris, you're such an achiever.
Overachiever.
Yeah. And speaking of overachieving, we're going to talk about the games that we might have achieved by playing in elementary school, middle school, like back whenever. I'm gonna take you back in time. It's the early 2000s.
Earlier than that.
You're in 4th or 5th grade, and your teacher.
How many grades have I failed?
Jesus.
So many.
It's like 1998 over here.
You don't know, whatever. But so it's the early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. You're in elementary school. Your teacher's like, hey, we're having a computer lab day. You go in, you sit down at those Apple computers with the blue backs on them that they got into the school. There's only 25 of them. And they sit you down and they say, all right, we're going to play some educational games. What are the games that you guys would play?
Well, I feel like there was 2 categories. There were games that happened to be installed on there, and then games that were actually educational. Like, I don't think that Oregon Trail is really educational.
Well, I mean, it teaches you how to build a trail, an old-timey
No, it doesn't.
I'm sure
group
there's
of
some way
settlers
that
from one side of the United States to the other.
It teaches you that there was an Oregon Trail.
It teaches you that you don't want typhoid.
Yeah.
It teaches you to never caulk the wagon and float.
I
always pay for passage.
Always caulk the wagon and float.
Social studies teachers can spin this in any way. It teaches history.
I mean, yeah, but like...
It teaches geography.
Sure.
I think so.
But like, do you understand what I mean?
Okay.
Like,
I
there's
do.
like
I
those
do.
games, and then there's stuff like Math Blaster that is actually an educational game, or like the Zoombinis games.
What is a Zoom?
The logical journey of the Zoombinis.
Oh.
I don't know what that is.
With the little blue
logical,
guys.
Yeah, the logical journey of the Zoombinis is one of my favorite games that we played in school. Where it's like one of those things. Like, how did we get away with like teachers letting us play these games that were so fun? Basically, you make a random assortment of these things called Zoombinis. They have different noses, different eyes, different hair.
So they're blueberries.
Yeah, they're
And
blueberries.
basically, it's a puzzle solving game that makes you sort these things with different puzzles. You have to use the traits about them to solve different puzzles and do different things.
Yeah,
So-
it was awesome.
It's really cool. Like, it was a very clever, and it made you think. Like, it really made you think, how am I going to do this? And it's different every time because you make the little output of your little guys. your Zoombinis. And there was always the guy who was like, the logical journey of Zoombinis in the beginning. And also, and also just one more quote. The very first thing is you have to make a pizza the second one is you have to make a pizza for a guy. And the guy, you show up and the guy's like, Fleens? You're not Fleens. Well, whoever you are, make me a pizza.
I think what's interesting in the distinction that Chris is making between like a math blaster type game where it's very much like these are the skills of math packaged in sort of this like saccharine video game where you also like, okay, but we'll let you use a jetpack and a laser beam once in a while, but basically it's still math, so don't get too excited.
But it was
and
but it gamified it was great.
Yeah, it was good. It was great. Nothing against Math Blaster. Love me some Math Blaster. Versus something like an Oregon Trail is like, yeah, maybe you're not like picking up all the facts about the Oregon Trail, but I also think there's something to teaching tools, especially when it comes to history, getting you thinking in a different way than you think right now in your current self. Like when you traveled the Oregon Trail, I need to stop saying Oregon.
You could
when
say
you traveled the Oregon Trail, there was a very strong chance that you were going to die. And you learned that when you were traveling. When you traveled the Oregon Trail.
It taught you to be nihilist.
Yeah,
well,
it did.
When you traveled the Oregon Trail, you also like you had to like think about planning and like, okay, food, repairs, ammunition, clothes. You were also learning about, okay, like I'm leaving from Missouri and I'm going to Oregon. So like these points are important. The methods, like everybody remembers their oxen in the cart, right? So there's a lot being left out here. Like, you know, the whole murder of a whole group of people that had to happen for us to take all that land from them.
Oh,
no,
not talking about that.
Like the Trail of Tears.
That's a very small murder compared to the
Native Americans.
Like,
I got it.
Large scale. Yeah. But I mean, I think there's something to be said for like picking someone up and putting them in a different place as a form of education. You see that in current educational games too, the Assassin's Creed stuff.
Katie, go ahead.
Okay, I know you guys are trying to like find meaning into why Oregon Trail and these other games were like on these computers. I'm wondering from a teaching perspective if literally they were like, okay, we need something for the kids to do if they finish early so that they don't fuck up these computers.
Well, okay, so, but Katie, like, what's one that you remember doing, and did you learn something from it?
Oregon Trail.
What'd you learn?
Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Wait, you play that in school?
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing. The reason we were in the computer lab is to do the typing program.
Oh, Mavis Beacon
Right.
teaches typing, yep.
Yeah, so, and which apparently they don't teach anymore, which is a shame.
It's stupid.
No, 10-finger typing?
No, they should know how to type. Otherwise, they'll turn out like me, going like using my two fingies.
Yeah, no, I
just
really...
to go.
I do that, and I do it pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I hunt and peck very quickly.
It's kind of funny to watch him type, but no, that's how I learned how to 10-finger type. But I do remember also playing those games in the computer lab too.
But did you learn anything from them?
From like Roller Coaster Tycoon and Oregon Trail.
Did you?
I don't know about that, but they stuck with me.
Okay, the game stuck with you.
Yeah, like you know. Like,
so there are some games, like I remember playing the Africa Trail, which was a different one, but basically it's where you would be riding a bike across like Africa.
The historical bike riding.
Well, but the goal of it was actually teaching you about like the different social structures within Africa. So you like get to a new place and you would be able to see it's like, oh, this is the town, these are the things. Sometimes you'd be like, oh, what type of food did you want to eat here? Here's the different types of food available in this region. And it's like sometimes like, oh, it's like roast locust, and you'd be like, ugh. But then you look at it, you're like, you know, that looks kind of good actually, because it used like real images of stuff. So I think from that culturally was a nice way to kind of like be like, oh, this is kind of cool to learn about these things.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I would say that I learned more from like Amazon Trail, just because it was like all these different animals that I was learning about and like different culture and like.
Did any of you play the Odell Lake games, like Odell Lake or Odell Lake Down Under?
Yeah, I played those a little bit.
Like those were pretty educational too. Like you're learning about specific kinds of fish and what they eat.
I think like some of the ones that we should definitely not pass up, because this was like we were prime time for this, was all of the Carmen Sandiego games.
Oh, sure. Oh my gosh.
Carmen Sandiego, like, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego, was one of the hardest games I remember playing, because I didn't know anything about different countries, like, whatsoever, because I'm American.
Because you're American, you don't have to.
Yeah, I was like, I live in America, I don't know any of this crap. I thought that was so cool, just because you had to know, it's like, oh, you have to know do all these clues and try and figure it out. And then there was the game show that was on TV. And I was always like, these kids are dumb. I could find Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah, Carmen Sandiego is actually a really great example of a really good educational game where you're hunting for something and it's a mystery, but there are clues, so it's sort of like bringing you in, but like all of the answers are real historical things, which is super smart. And also, Carmen Sandiego was like kind of the 9-foot vampire lady before we had a 9-foot vampire lady.
That's true.
Like,
that's true.
Stomp on me, Carmen.
It's like, oh yeah, Carmen, I just want you to steal all my precious art and make me come find you.
Do you remember the TV show too?
Yeah,
that was cool.
There was. Are you talking about the game show, or are you talking about the animated children's show?
The game show.
The game show. I just remember I remember that. Oh, what's her name? The actress who was the chief.
Yes.
Charlene Teresa Thigpen.
Lynn Thigpen? Oh yeah.
But she was like, I just remember anytime you heard her, she was like, hello, gumshoes. It's like, oh, yes, it's time. It's time for this. Katie, you are currently an educator, correct?
Yes.
Sorry, it's kind of fun. Now, you're an educator.
No, Katie.
It's like you're a lawyer and like she's on the stand.
Like, Katie, hold on. Let me walk around. Katie, you are an educator, correct?
I object. Leading question.
Sustained. Katie, tell us what your profession is, if you don't mind.
That is correct.
Yeah, well, but games today. Think about the current video games that we play, and there are so many kids who play them. Do you think that we can use games in a similar way now that they could then to further education?
Yes. I only worry, though, because if that gets into companies' hands like Pearson and things like that, then that could be bad. But otherwise, yes, I think it's an awesome concept.
What is Pearson?
Pearson, expand, please.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so
for the layman, the uneducated.
Yes. So Pearson is one of the largest, if not the largest, companies that creates standardized tests and basically like sells their test to states and counties, and they are a large driver behind having standardized tests instead of it being like more for actual benefit of students. It's more about the money with the testing. And Pearson also makes a lot of textbooks and is part of the reason why textbooks are so expensive and lots of things like that. So in many teachers' eyes, they are not a great company.
Or, a giant evil monopoly.
Yes, basically.
Stuffing bullshit down all of our throats.
Also, whenever you said giant evil monopoly, the only thing I saw was like a giant board game Monopoly box, but with like an evil mustache.
I just saw the big Monopoly man, just really big, giant.
He's just like, I'm going to burn your house down. It's like, no, Monopoly man.
So, Katie, more specifically, what's your worry there? That they're going to like produce some like highly addictive educational game that's aimed at like upping SAT scores or something?
They're going to dominate the market, and instead of inviting in creativity and things that may actually benefit students, then it would just become, I don't know, dull, or like kids are very... You can't use the same thing all the time.
Okay, sorry.
Like,
they have ADD.
They get tired of stuff.
They have short attention spans.
Well, just like there's a couple things that I use and a lot of teachers use that we've been using them so much this past year that like kids are just like, ugh, like I'm just done. Like I'm done with these kinds of things. So I worry that in the wrong hands, these kinds of educational games, instead of being like fun, they'll just be like, this again, I think it should stay in the hands of like video game developer people instead of like an evil corporation like Pearson.
Well, you could also argue that video game corporations are also pretty evil because they are also really only after the money. And I think I understand what you're saying is because, again, sort of the standardized testing sort of envelope is that like everything becomes the same. Like there's no creativity anymore. Everything becomes hard to individualize, and it becomes hard to make kids be creative whenever they're just trying to churn out the same, you know, we went to the moon in 1969, we went to the moon in 1969, we went to the moon in 1969. Like we all know that, you know, when they get to that standardized test, they'd be like, oh, we go to the moon in 1964, 1968, 1972, or 1969. They click the box that says 1969.
Well, and just these blanket tests are not a good way of testing student strengths in any capacity. I mean, you can do really poorly on tests and still have strengths elsewhere. And the whole, you know, we differentiate for our students. Why can't these testing companies differentiate for our students? Anyway, it's a whole soapbox that I'm not gonna get onto.
That's okay. But, I've got this whole room full of soapboxes over here. If you want.
I think
it's from Allison
also,
usually, but
I think Katie's point also sort of like makes space for video games to be actually a really powerful tool for this, because what she's saying is that Pearson standardized testing leads to Pearson standardized learning, which leads to a like standardized experience of students in schools, which doesn't necessarily serve them or serve the purpose of schools learning or the broader public, right? Because they're not really learning how to do, they're just learning to, like you said, check a box.
Yeah.
But you give them a thing like Minecraft and you say, I don't know, do what you want. Or here's a project. Better yet, here's a project. Build me a lighthouse. You have 20 hours in game. I will grade you on the quality of your lighthouse at the end of those 20 hours. Best of luck. I guarantee you that you will see some incredible lighthouses.
Right. Someone will actually go watch the lighthouse and get really messed up.
Yeah.
And that and also like I think that you could use that as like a team building exercise, and for students where really learning about sort of teamwork or problem solving, that's a much better way to teach those skills than check a box.
Yes.
Also, you just gave me an idea for something I'm going to make all of you do, which is which is go into Minecraft and build me things, and only have to meet specific qualities.
I'm down.
Yeah,
I'm super down.
It's like here's what it needs to do. It's a lighthouse. It needs to be on the coast. It needs to have some sort of light at the top and be a tower. Go.
What if we did a video game version of making it?
Oh, that'd be
amazing.
Cool. That would be like that.
We would put it in like creative god mode.
We would call it faking it.
Not in creative god mode. Make it extra fun.
So, Katie, that being said, what game would you use to educate students?
So it's funny because when Chris was first asking me about talking about this stuff, I was like, I don't have anything to say, but...
Classic. And I was like, that's what Alex says all the time. He's always wrong.
So there are some things that pretty much every teacher I know, at least in my county, uses, both for like off-topic things and for content-related things. There's a website called Kahoot, which is basically like a quiz kind of a thing. And there's Kahoots with a K that you can publish so that everybody can see them, or you can make your own. And it's basically like Jackbox, because the kids can all log in on their phone. And then you just like start the quiz, and then, you know, it gives them like points, and then there's places at the end. And you can do a lot of cool things with it. Like you can include pictures, videos, audio to like quiz them on lots of different things, GIFs, so you can make it really fun. And so typically a lot of teachers I know will use it as like a reward or as a way to make assessing their knowledge like more fun. But then you can like immediately see like, okay, are they getting this concept? Are they not? Maybe I need to go back and like reteach this or like try it a different way. So we use that all the time. And that's one of the things that like they're a little Kahooted out right now because of that. Because we've been doing that all throughout virtual teaching and stuff. So
just one quick Kahoot story. At my niece's 7th birthday party, she had the Disney thing where the kids of the bad kids, what are they called? Shoot.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Oh, the villains?
Descendants. For my niece's 7th birthday party, she had a Descendants party, and we did a Kahoot quiz on the Descendants movies, and I did very well on them.
I love that she did that. Your niece sounds awesome.
Well, she didn't make them. My sister, who is also a teacher, found them, and we all did them. But she did very well on them. I did very well. She was like, Uncle Dan, you know a lot about the things. I was like, yeah, I watched all the movies so I could be prepared for this party.
That's awesome.
Sorry, and continue. That's it.
Yeah. So, and then there's a couple other things that, like, I don't consider them a game, but you can certainly present them as a game. Like, you know, Ian and Dan, I'm sure you know, like, musictheory.net has a lot of exercises. So, like, you can present, like, for kids that are trying to learn how to read notes, be like, okay, like, let's try to get 80% or higher correct, or, like, you know, like, just make it more fun. There is a game for that, actually, that some elementary school teachers use called Staff Wars, where it's like a galaxy background.
I have used and played Staff Wars. Yep.
Yeah, so there's that. There's something that Google came out with. We are a Google county, so like we've been using Google Meet. It's called Pear Deck, and basically it takes your Google Slides and it gives you the ability to add a way on each slide for students to answer a question. Like you can choose to make it a multiple choice, a text response, drawing response. You can...
Oh, that'd be cool.
It is really awesome because if you open up the dashboard in another tab, you can see who has answered what, who has not answered. Like, you can see immediately who is getting the, like, correct answer and who is getting, like, the wrong answer. Like, you can see their name on your slide, on the teacher slide. But to everybody else, if you show answers to the class, it doesn't show names. It just shows, like, the answer, or, like, if you have multiple choice, it'll show, like, 7 answers for this and 20 answers for this. And then they'll see, like, oh, and then, you know, you can have them change their answer if they want. So it does make things a lot more interactive and gives immediate feedback. And it's been really good for virtual teaching because it, like, forces them to interact.
Right.
You know, even if you have, like, blank screens and, like, they don't like to turn their cameras on, at least you can still see that they're participating. And
right. No, but that's really cool. And it sounds like the majority of things, and this is kind of what I've experienced too, a lot of the things that we see as games in education right now are like trivia based. You know, where like that Minecraft idea was really good. And I've seen a lot of Minecraft camps and stuff that pop up over the summer. If they would be part of like regular curriculum, I think that would be really cool too.
Well, yeah, because you can kind of do like Minecraft programming.
Yeah.
Right. And the other things that I want to shout out in terms of like games that are really good teachers, I think there is a really good case for the new Microsoft Flight Sim if you have the rig for it, just as like an exploration of geography and of the planet. I also want to shout out some of the Zachtronics games, so like Exapunks, Shenzhen IO. If you're interested in programming and you don't mind like digging pretty deep into programming languages that, even though they're not like necessarily like a usable programming language, it teaches you a lot of the rules that a regular programming language would require. But just to get your like head in that brain space of programming, those things are really good too. Those came to mind for me.
yeah, and like I know this is not game oriented, but like we were talking about like what home ec was like when we were in school, or like tech ed, where like when we were in school we would do like woodwork and like building a lamp and things like that. And now at least with our school, because you know we are in a very fortunate county, the kids do 3D printing. Like they work in a program and they 3D print something, or
That's
they some schools do an hour of code, and they'll do an hour of coding a week just to like introduce them to coding. And yeah, it's like really cool. It's, you know, different from when we were there, but it's really neat.
Well, and you've been doing like the collaborative thing with your general music classes on...
Oh yeah, we've in general music we've been using Soundtrap, which is basically like GarageBand but online,
Nice.
which is awesome. There's a lot of cool music apps and things out there that the kids love, and it's easy to create something cool quickly.
Like working in composition and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the amount of electronic music that's out there, right? The amount of electronic music that's out there these days. These kids could become millionaires with their, or hundredaires with their music.
But yeah.
So and I think that kind of leads me into my final question, final thoughts, chung for the for the section is like, do you think that are we going to be able to continue using these games, or like can we use games effectively, or is it being phased out? And I think we've kind of answered that, like in that yes, we can, but I'd be interested to see if anyone disagrees with that.
I mean, I would say that there's not like the same amount of video games like we had when we were growing up today. You know, like I could be wrong. I just don't see it, and it could be because I don't have kids, but. Mm-hmm. I just don't see a lot of educational video games being put out there anymore. It seems more about like customizing tools instead of strictly educational, and like not even strictly educational, just get video games that are educational. It just seems to be kind of a dying breed a little bit because people want customization.
Okay. All right, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a huge market for this, especially right now when so much teaching and learning is being done digitally. And B, I also think there has been a lot of innovation here. We just don't necessarily, like Chris said, we don't like necessarily hear about it or think about it as such, right? So when we look at the Assassin's Creed games recently and their free releases of like those full like Greek island universes and those kinds of things, like that's a really huge advancement, a really great tool that you can bring students to give them a really valuable experience. But I also think there's a lot to be learned in video games from other things we already talked about, like teamwork and creativity, but also like I was just thinking about this game, This War of Mine, which is like a really tough game, sort of about really minimal resources and, you know, a really sad war situation. Be like, hey, but here's a reality of war. You know, we read about war, this many people died, but here's what it's like to be in war in a way that's still safe, obviously, but maybe a little bit more impactful in terms of like not just what you're learning, but what you're learning.
Right. I think there was a game called Valiant Hearts that was very similar to that too.
About World War I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's almost like if you were to take like a literature course, right? English lit. Mm-hmm. Instead of English lit, we should have like, you know, English language video games. And these are the important ones.
Most video games are English language.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could just change the settings. It could be any language you want.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And Katie, I just want your opinion on it before we...
So, yeah, it's funny because this has got me like really thinking about this. I do think...
I ask the tough questions. That's why.
I do
He's
think...
like Maury.
Oh, but also, Katie, you are not the father.
Yes. I mean, no, I do think there's a market for this, but also, you know, thinking from I am not a parent, but putting myself in my students' parents' shoes, you know, they're on screens a lot and they're on devices a lot. And it's like, where do you kind of draw the line between like, well, you know, you play stuff at home all the time. Like, why are you playing on stuff in school? So I can kind of see where it may have like died down a little bit because parents are like, no, like they should be on their screens less, which to some extent is true. Like, especially now because they're on a computer all day and then, you know, phone and tablet and like all this stuff. But yeah, I think in the right hands with the right ideals, this could be a really, really cool market, but I do think money plays a big part of it, and you know, evil corporations being what they are. But no, it's gotten me really thinking, and I think this could definitely be something if it is pursued by the right people.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. And where it's all about who the technology is in the hands of. And when we were younger, computers were new, like personal computers were newer, and there was less stuff, and not everyone had one, so there was less screen time. You know, I still went up.
There was novelty to going to the computer lab and being on the computer.
Yeah.
Well, and it seemed like these games like came with the computer.
Probably.
You know, so like you didn't really have a choice, and it wasn't like you were buying a separate package of this game for my science department or like buying just this game. It just like came with the computer.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I can't imagine buying a computer that had number crunchers on it already or number munchers, excuse me. But
oh man, that one was awesome too.
Yeah, that game was freaking sick. I love that one. But I think it would be really nice if we got back to a place where there were games that could do that. But as you said, yeah, it's about money, and it's kind of hard whenever there's not really a huge market for educational games, because that's not what the companies are thinking of. And the companies that are thinking about it doing it exclusively for their own thing, like Pearson. So it's tough, but I think with the right people getting involved in making the games that could be educational or could be used for education, we could get, especially since kids are way more knowledgeable technology now.
I think EA's next title should be like, giant scale RPG, just like the Mass Effect series, except it should be the Oregon Trail, but like same like choices leading to different outcomes, and they should call it Ox Effect.
Ox.
I was thinking more Math Blaster 2077.
Oh, Math Blaster 2077.
It's Math Blaster, but with sex scenes occasionally.
I think
it's sex education and math. No.
I was more thinking we should just lock all the kids in a room with Kerbal Space Program and make them fly into space before they're allowed to leave.
Game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a super educational game. Why did we not talk about that?
Because it's a terrible game.
It's too late. It's not a terrible game. It's too late.
No, it's not terrible.
Game.
It's just too hard. If I'm 31 and I can't figure out how to go to space, I can't imagine us. Well, no, actually, you know what? Kids would probably be smarter than me at that, so they'd probably be able to do that. Well, you know what? I think on those bombshells, it's probably a good place for us to stop this week or this bye week for the GameBrew podcast.
They get it.
They get it. So, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Katie, do you want to promote anything while you're here?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Just Katie Hunt in general as a person. I want to promote her.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
A good quality person.
She's a quality person, and literally anytime. So for us in the GameBrew, if you wanna follow all our stuff, where you can find us everywhere at the GameBrew on all the social medias. You come hang out with us at bit.ly/discobrew. You can still get some cool Humble Bundle discounts by going to bit.ly/GameBrew. And please remember to subscribe to the podcast if you're not already subscribed. Give us a review, rate it, tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your mom's friend Susan to listen to the GameBrew podcast. She's going to say, I don't like what they talk. It's like, well, they talked about education in this one. It's really good. She'll be like, oh, okay, then I'll listen to. So do that. It'll really help us out. It'll help you out, because then you'll be able to talk to your friends about what you listened to on the podcast. So does anyone else have anything to plug while we're here? No?
Oranges.
Eat
They're
oranges.
delicious.
Vitamin C.
Fight scurvy. Oh, and remember to look out for the GameBrew Twitch stream. I've been trying to stream every Tuesday with an assorted group of friends, either one or two. And then this episode will have released after this, but you could probably go back and watch me and Katie playing some hidden object games on the GameBrew Twitch stream. So please do that. Every once in a while, the Mongoose Omelet Squad comes and plays Warzone on Thursdays too. We just had our first Warzone win as a squad. We've been playing the game for a year as a squad, never won as a squad, but we did it this Thursday.
Yay.
Only took exactly a year for us to do it.
Congratulations, Mongoose Omelet.
We're so proud.
Thank you. I do appreciate
Compliments.
that. Honestly, I tell them all the time, I win with Ian and everybody else more than I win with you idiots.
My favorite thing is still, we won that one time, and then I got disconnected, so I didn't get to...
That's true. You didn't get the credit for it.
That was funny.
All right. So, and with that, I think we're going to say good night, everybody. So, everybody say good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Well, Chris, thanks for finishing talking about that.
Can we actually do a better transition?
No, we can't. Fuck you.